Hey everybody, good to see you. I know last week Mr. Muniz did a bunch of videos with you. Hopefully they made sense. Today, and actually this week, we're gonna kind of be reviewing those concepts. And I'm gonna tell you what's expected out of you for all the coming weeks. Please make sure that you're just gonna start like a brand new sheet of paper every single day, label it with the date. So at the top of your paper today, label it 4-6 or April 6th. Tomorrow, you'll take out a brand new sheet of paper and then you'll label it 4-7. So if you guys can stay organized by dates, that's gonna be the best way. Most days we will have short videos with just a short amount of skills you need to learn. And then you're gonna get some independent practice or homework problems that'll come straight from the videos. Leave me a comment on Google Classroom, get a hold of me on Google Hangouts, email, anything I can do to help you out. I obviously will do that. All right, so you guys, we're gonna jump into kind of the basics of square roots. So number one, you're gonna write down the square root of 100, but I'm gonna do it 3 different ways, and I'd like for you to write it down 3 different ways. The first thing that we need to do is learn the square root button in our calculator, and all this stuff's gonna help us out in geometry next year. Just so you know, we use this a bunch then. So we can take the square root of 100, and that's one that we probably should have known from middle school anyway, but it is 10. Our calculator, if something is a perfect square root, will simply just give us a number. Now we can prove why that's 10. So here's one way that we can prove it's 10. If you ever know 2 of the same number that multiply together to be a number, we would call that a pair. So 100 can break down to 10 times 10. Now, even though they're not prime numbers, once you find a pair, you can say a pair of numbers comes outside the square root, but it comes out as a single. So a pair of 10s comes outside of the square root as a single 10. You can put your square root symbol, but there's nothing left underneath there. So we're not gonna say 10 square root none, we're just gonna say 10, and there's no numbers left in the square root. The last way that we can prove the answer is just 10 is you can always do what's called a prime factorization tree. And that's the factor tree that gets down to prime numbers. Now you can still do it any way you want, but here's the way I suggest. Anytime you have an even number divided by 2, so that means it'd be 2 times 50. Since 50 is an even number, you can divide it by 2, and it'd be 2 times 25. Since 25 is not an even number, it's not divisible by 2, so you don't want to waste your time on that. And I know you already know how to break down 25, but I'm just going through the process. Then you would divide it by 3. That doesn't break it down. Divide it by 4 doesn't break it down, but divide by 5 does. And it's 5 times 5. Now, once you get all prime numbers, you only look at those. So since we broke up those numbers, we don't look at it, so I underline my primes. And if you have a pair of numbers, they come outside. So a pair of 2s comes outside as a single 2. A pair of 5s comes outside as a single 5. So now on the outside, I have a 2 times a 5, square root of, there were no prime numbers left underneath the square root. 2 times 5 is 10, and then square root of none, we don't put. So you guys, we should be able to simplify perfect square roots, whether it's using a calculator or any other method that we have at our disposal. Okay, next example, number 2. We're gonna try to do a square root of 120. Now we're gonna get a lot of these also in geometry class. So you need to learn how to use your square root button. And when we type the square root of 120, if you round to 2 decimal places, we use these little squiggle equal signs as approximate, but it'd be 10.95. Now, since I'm not at your house to help you with your calculator, maybe you'll have to Google how to use the square root button correctly in your calculator. Every calculator is a little different, but you should be able to come out with 10.95. Now, when it's a decimal like that, this is called a rounded answer. We should also be able to find an exact answer, and that means an answer where you still have a square root in it then. So you guys, there is more than one way to break up 120, but I always use the smallest prime number. Since it's even, I'll divide it by 2. 2 is a prime number times 60. 60 is an even number. So 2 is a prime number times 30. 30 is an even number, so it's divisible by 2. 2 is a prime number times 15. And now 15 is a composite number, but it's not even, so I can't divide it by 2, but I can divide it by 3. And it'd be 3 prime number times 5 prime number. So when we do our prime number factorization, we look at those, we look for pairs come out as singles, and any singles actually stay trapped. So we have a 2 comes out as a 2, a pair of 2s comes out as a single 2, but he is trapped because he doesn't have a pair. He is trapped because he doesn't have a pair, and he is trapped because he doesn't have a pair. So now I have a 2 on the outside, and I have a square root. The 2 is trapped, times the 3 is trapped, times the 5 is trapped, and I will have to multiply them together. So it's 2, square root of 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30. 2 rad 3 is what we call the exact answer. So when a radical ends up having a decimal answer, we could have it rounded or we could have it exact. Last example of the day that you're going to do with me. And please remember, you're copying these down on your own sheet of paper for full participation points. I'll be asking you guys to send files of pictures throughout the week. So number 3 is the square root of 126. All right, so same thing. We always start with our calculator. We see if it's perfect, because if it is, we don't want to do this long work. So we take the square root of 126, we get a decimal, so we'll round it to 11.22. So I try to go to 2 decimal places. If you go to 1, that's fine. Just go ahead and round your decimal. But now I'm going to go ahead and break this down using my prime factorization tree. Since it is even, I'll divide it by 2. 2 is a prime number times 63. Now 63 is not even, so 2 doesn't fit in it. But if you divide it by 3, it will work. So it's 3 prime number times 21. 21 is also a composite number that's divisible by 3. So it'll be 3 prime number times 7 prime number. So now I look at all my prime numbers, and if I have a pair, they come out as a single. So I have a pair of 3s that get to come out, but the 2 is trapped and the 7 is trapped. So I have 3 on the outside, square root of 2 times 7 on the inside, or 3 rad 14. Instead of saying the square root symbol, you might have heard me say rad a couple times. That is the radical symbol as well. So 3 times the square root of 14, or 3 rad 14. And that's called your exact answer. So we have a rounded and an exact. So every problem tonight on your independent practice or homework, I want you to use your calculator first. And if it's perfect, you can just write down that. You don't have to do the factor tree. But if it's a decimal, you should be able to write your rounded answer and give me the exact answer. Please try these 3 problems now. So you guys, for homework or independent practice, you're going to try to reduce the square root of 80, the square root of 289, and number 3, the square root of 360. You guys stay happy, stay healthy. Hopefully your family's doing well. If you guys need anything, reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys on May 1st. I know it's been a long time since we've seen each other. And again, I do miss seeing all of you. All right, you guys, it's your boy, Mr. P. Have a great day.